Well, off the back of our big decision at the end of yesterday's episode, it's time to make our way through our last couple of games in charge here with Buxton FC. Fingers crossed we can leave on a high starting off here with the semi-finals of the playoffs. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 35 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Buxton FC. I hope you're doing well, and coming up today, we've got the first and second leg of this playoff semi-final. We will take on Fleetwood Town and try and make our way through to a final where hopefully can get these guys up to League One before we ditched them for Germany, which we did make that decision on at the end of yesterday's episode. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner for job interviews, and we have decided going to the start of the next European season, we will no longer be here at Buxton's. Definitely one that you want to go check out because a fair bit did happen during the course of that episode, but thankfully, despite some pretty rubbish form going into those couple of games that we did eventually play, we did just do enough there to make sure we qualified in sixth going into these playoffs. As you can see, it's been a couple of weeks since we played that last game, that 3-1 win over Shrewsbury Town off the back of that big bottle job before away at Northampton Town. And indeed, we have got Fleetwood Town as expected considering the standings in the playoff semi-finals over 2 leagues. And first up, this is our home league as well. So the last chance for us here to play with this Buxton team at the Tarmac Silverlands. Of course, we've been really good here with this Buxton team overachieving. Fingers crossed we can do it one more time as we make our way into the playoffs, albeit we take on a team in Fleetwood Town who have been completely rubbish against the season outside of a win in the group stage of the Pizza Cup. Both times we've taken these guys on in the league. Let's make our way over here to the data hub and the previous meetings. Of course, it would have been some before we did get here, but this season it was a 6-2 defeat quite early in the League 2 season away, backed up with a 2-1 loss at home back in March. So unfortunately, just that Pizza Cup win that we did pick up this season. Let's hope that this time we can get the word over them, especially in this home league. Of course, a couple of seasons ago too, these guys beat us back in the first round of the FA Cup. So it's a team we have not got a good record against here that we're coming up against in this playoff semi-final. Let's hope we find a way to turn things around, despite the fact we are quite weak currently in our central midfield position. Ben Midgley is out for 2 to 4 weeks, as is the third choice, and Kean McDonough for a further day. So it does mean that really all we've got there at the moment is Eddie and Manning. So let's hope we don't get any issues in that part of the field. But apart from that, it's a full strength team we've got available, obviously, off the back of that big gap since that last game of the season. A couple of players in there based on form rather than the tributes and the likes there of Abdul Salam at right back, Harry Leeson over Jem Hewlett. He's actually been in some really good form recently as one of our backup centre backs. And as well as that, we've got the likes of Lewis Jones there at left wing instead of Chris Zay still wanking his way back from injury. Has been okay, but I think Lewis Jones on that green rating will give a chance to, as is the case with Jed Garner over Alice Lahane, who is struggling just a little bit recently on a 6.4, despite the fact that he has scored a lot more goals in the league this season. So a couple of changes to what we usually do here with this Buxton team, but we're doing it based on form and recent performance. Let's hope that it pays off here and we can at least take an advantage into that second leg away from home, because anything but a win here would be quite concerning with our record so far in the save against this Fleetwood Town team who did just finish one spot above us on the league up in 5th, but still, the way we finished our season, it was not very convincing. Hopefully, the good performances that we did put out in yesterday's episode against both Northampton as well as against Shrewsbury Town, that Northampton one, obviously, we let it slip late, but still, we scored 6 goals in those last 2 games of the season. Fingers crossed that continues, as we actually got here a pre-match interview that will make our way through here. Of course, as I said earlier, our last game here at the Tarmac Silverlands, I'm pretty sure that we're not playing the final at our home ground, unless somehow we ended up taking on that Walsall team who did qualify in 7th. And even then, this might be one of the playoff finals, I think, that does get played at Wembley, albeit being from New Zealand. I'm not too sure if that's actually the case all the way down here in League 2, but fingers crossed we can leave Buxton on a high and somehow get them promoted up to League 1, 3 promotions in a row. But obviously this time a lot tougher than the previous 2 seasons when we've also picked up the league and done it automatically. But the first highlight here, we did have the ball, but that pass from Manning is nowhere near Ghana, so it does mean that Fleetwood here can try and make their way out from back, and so far they're doing a pretty good job. Will be a good tackle there from Sweeney, but unfortunately it just falls there to a Fleetwood player. Agumang plays that one back there to Barr, and now it goes up there to Farkas, who makes his way down the right-hand side, does some good work too to pick out the McKenna, who does our man there in Sweeney and squares it for Promise Omochile, who will put that one away. It's a dreadful start. We go 1-0 down inside 5 minutes. So unfortunately, the curse we've got here against this Fleetwood team might be continuing. Not too sure who it was there down our left-hand side. It might be Sweeney being the left back, but he got absolutely done there by McKenna. Now centre-backs as well got kind of cooked there by Omochile, and Promise will give Fleetwood a 1-0 lead. So definitely not the start we're after here in this first leg, but of course it's a tie over 180 minutes. I'm not too sure if it's a draw after that, if it goes straight to penalties or we have extra time, but obviously with that being away from home, that might be a bit difficult. So let's hope we can actually find a way here to turn things around and take an advantage into that second leg. But so far, it's been a pretty poor start. Fleetwood are all over us. To be fair, they're picking up a couple of yellow cards. Hopefully that might be something which does bite them in the second half. But unfortunately, we did nothing in that first half. Just that one highlight where Omochile did score from Sweeney, getting cooked there down our left-hand side. We're actually going to take off here at Lucy on a 6.3 for Hewlett, and Leeson can go out to that right centre-back position, seeing as he can also do a bit of a job for us there at right back. Apart from that, no other players out there are doing awfully. So just that one change there at halftime will tell the guys just not good enough in that first half. And let's hope we get pay here in the second. An early free kick to Ghana, but unfortunately he puts that one well high and wide. So unfortunately our first attack of the game not that threatening. It's been pretty quiet though in terms of general shots from both teams, but unfortunately Fleetwood, their first one, they did make it count. And going forward here to the hour mark, now we've got Lewis Jones who drops down to a 6.4. So I think here we put Colville out to left wing. Of course, did struggle there last season. Let's hope that's not the case this time around. Also, Alice Lahane will bring on Bajit Ghana, who hasn't done a lot in this game, apart from that free kick that we did see go wide. So hopefully Alice Lahane here can come off the bench and do something. But now, unfortunately, it's Ash Jamir who drops down to a 6.4. So Colville can go back out to his more natural right wing, at least in terms of what we've seen here with this Buxton team. We've thrown there inside of the final field. We put it far post, but unfortunately, I think it would have been Caden Kelly who we did bring on there for Muir, who puts that one over the bar. And now Eddie Manning goes down to a red heart with our final sub. Alfie Pinion here might actually be the best option in comparison to someone like Zayn Mohammed, because he might be a bit better on attack, usually being a right back. So we'll try him there, something a bit different with our final sub as we make our way to the final 10 minutes of this game. Unfortunately, it's a corner though for Fleetwood Town. They put that one far post. Bar thankfully just puts that one over his namesake. And now it's time for us here, I think, to go a bit more attacking. Just see if we can find a way to grab an equaliser late on in this game. Also go to the higher tempo that we tend to do with our 4-1-4-1, which to be fair might not be the worst idea here late on in this game. But not too sure if Alfie Pinion can actually play as an attacking midfielder. So I think we're actually going to have to stick here with the 4-3-3. But unfortunately, as we make our way into 6 minutes of added time, let's go attacking and see what we can do late on. We'll chuck our fullbacks here onto wing backs on attack. Just see if that gets us going a little bit more. Certainly not out of this game, only being 1 goal down. But still, I would like at least parity going into that second leg. Unfortunately, Pinion can't do a job there in advanced midfield, so we're going to have to pull him back here just a little bit and do a bit of a 4-1-1-3-1. So a little bit different what we usually do late on here when searching for a goal with this Buxton team. But unfortunately, despite the fact that stats-wise now actually we're the team who have had more shots and the XG ever so slightly lower than Fleetwood Town. That big early chance where unfortunately Sweeney got burnt there down our left-hand side, and Promise Omochile put the ball in the back of the net there through a simple tap-in. That's the difference maker. We're going to be pushing it uphill in the second leg. Need to turn around a 1-0 deficit if we want to make our way through to a playoff final. So not the result we wanted there from the first leg of this playoff semi-final. Now it's time for us here to go away from home. Just a couple of changes. We're going with something a bit more similar to our regular best 11. So it does mean that Hewlett comes back in there for an informed Harry Leeson at centre-backs. He'll partner up there with Adelusi. They do have a good combo. And as well as that, Chris Zay, he comes back in at left wing. So a couple of changes. It should, in theory, attribute-wise, be quite a strong team apart from Abdul Salam in there for Pinion, but that's of course because of the fact that Pinion, he can't jump, so that's the reason that Abdul Salam does keep his spot there at right back. Wasn't too bad in that first league really. It was Jaden Sweeney, our captain, who let us down, but we have to turn around here a 1-goal deficit. You can see there Crawley Town, they do have the advantage 2-0 over Walsall, so it's looking like currently that the teams that qualified in 4th and 5th might be playing out here this final. We'll just make our way here again through a pre-match interview, which we might get more of next season in the 2 Bundesliga. Let's hope, though, before then, we can turn this around and make a playoff final. Otherwise, this will be our final game in charge with Buxton. Of course, it has been a really good spell we've had here in our first job of the save. We took these guys over when they were struggling to stay up in the Vanarama National League North. Thankfully, just enough to make sure that they were there next season off back of that back-to-back promotions up until this season in League 2. To be fair, if we did better in that final month of the season, might have had a chance yet again for an automatic promotion. Wouldn't have won the league title, but still could have gone up to League 1. But unfortunately, our form just faltered at the wrong time in the season, and that's the reason that we are in the playoffs. And unfortunately, taking on a bit here of a bogey team. Williams there, it looked like should have got the interception, but somehow Fleetwood get it back. It goes for there to Parsons, who chips that one over Casper the Ghost, and we're in all sorts of trouble now. We're 2-0 down, and there's still, to be fair, 70 minutes left in this game, so hopefully got time to turn this around, but that does feel a little bit cheesy, because Williams, he had that ball, and I'm not too sure why he did nothing with it off the back of that interception. So that does feel a little bit harshly match engine-wise, but unfortunately, Fleetwood Town continue to hold the wood over us here in the save outside of the Pete's Cup, which, to be fair, we fully rotated in. Maybe I should have gone with a full rotation for this playoff semi-final, seeing as they seem to be the boys that can beat this Fleetwood Town. Now, a few minutes later, they do have a free kick there inside the final third. Thankfully, Casper comes up there with a good save low at his near post, albeit this highlight will continue. Fingers crossed it gets cut out soon, but Fleetwood all over us here early in this game. They play us one back there to their goalkeeper, and they still keep it here. And some good short passing goes up there to Parsons, who looks for a double, and unfortunately, I think he might get it. I don't think the assistant referee has put his flag up. Indeed, the players, they are celebrating. We might be cooked here before halftime. In the second leg, we are 2-0 down. So unfortunately, Casper's good save there off the free kick. It is unrewarded because our defence gets sliced apart there like a hot knife through butter. It was the pass through, I think, from Garfield. It finds Parsons, and he picks up a double, gets himself on a hat-trick. In fact, it's Glenfield, not Garfield. He's not a cat, but we're in all sorts of trouble here. We're in the last of our 9 lives because we're 3-0 down. We need some turnaround here in the second half. We'll take off Sebastian Williams on a 6.3 for Caden Kelly. Also Garner on a 6.4 for Lahane. To be fair, that definitely hasn't worked here in these playoffs. I was hoping that Garner in some better form might do better than Alice Lahane. We'll see if that was a mistake here as we make our way into the second half of the second leg. Also, we'll bring Mohammed on there for Sebastian Williams, and as well as that, we'll actually bring on Colville for a struggling Muir as well. So a lot of changes there in terms of our attack. It does mean that Dewuna, we might try there in central midfield, albeit Zay, we could actually use there at left wing and just see if maybe Manning can stay on the field so we can do this 4-1-4-1. So we actually change things here a little bit, try go a bit more aggressive in the second half. So a bit there of a change to what I was going to do because we need goals. We might as well switch to the 4-1-4-1 a bit sooner than we usually do. So it does mean that those subs, Lahane up front, we've got Caden Kelly coming on for Muir, and as well as that, it is actually Colville who comes on there for Sebastian Williams, and also actually bring on Harry Leeson for Adelusi on a 6.4. So Chris Zay, he somehow keeps his spot out there at left wing because we don't really have any other options in terms of subs if we want to play that 4-1-4-1. Fingers crossed he can actually make sure that that's not a mistake. But unfortunately, the first highlight of the second half does see Fleetwood trying to make their way out from the back. To be fair, we're doing a decent job here at putting pressure on them. They are having to actually keep themselves here inside of their final third. They try and loop a ball over the top there. Somehow they win that one in the air, but thankfully Ryzen can track back and get us back on the pill here. Dewuna with a ball out there to Chris Zay. That's an awful pass, but thankfully Manning does end up with that one. Caden Kelly with a long-range screamer to make it 2-1. So thankfully we've got a goal here nice and early in the second half. Maybe the 4-1 might be the difference maker. Pretty fortunate there. We got that ball back from that poor pass from Chris Zay, who definitely is not improving on that 6.3 based on that, but thankfully it kind of a helping hand in that goal, meaning he found Caden Kelly, who makes it 2-1 on the day, but unfortunately because that first leg at home, we are still 3-1 behind, so really need one more goal soon to try and give us here a chance at turning this one round and taking it potentially to extra time or a penalty shootout, but unfortunately it's Fleetwood Town here who are on the ball, and so far they're keeping it pretty well here from this highlight. Look over the top there for Carr, who squares it for Parsons, who I'm pretty sure might have stayed on side. The assistant referee did not put their flag out. Actually got VAR here in the playoffs, which is a bit interesting. Haven't had it all season here in League 2, but unfortunately he did stay on side. It was a bit weird there that they didn't look for the man in a ton of space there down the left-hand side, but Carr gets in behind and puts it into Parsons, who picks up a hat-trick. As per us, it is for a header, and that makes it 4-1 out on aggregate. We're back in all sorts of trouble, and our defence in this one is just not doing the job that we need from them. So unfortunately, it does look like this will be our last game in charge here of this Buxton team, and it's going to be a pretty disappointing defeat as well, unless we can stage a massive turnaround now as we're 3 goals down with only a half hour or so left. But a good interception there from Sweeney from a highlight. He starts to make his way forward here, pulls it back in for Manning and puts it in there for Lahane, but this time I'm pretty sure that that will get ruled out for offside by VAR, because Lahane, that did look far too good to be true, and indeed that time the goal, it does get disallowed. So unfortunately we can't make it 4-2. We are still 3 goals down. To be fair, not as far offside as he thought there because of the right back, but still he's a good strike offside, and we remain 3 goals down. Zay on a 6.1. We probably should try and find a way here to take him off. Let's see if anyone out there can do a job at left wing, or we can bring someone on for someone else there who can do a job where Chris Zay usually would be. We could bring Pinion on there in a bit of a defensive midfield role, but not too sure if that would be a great idea. What we might actually have to do here late on is try something like a 4-1-3-1 like we did in that previous game, just to make sure that Pinion can come on for the struggling Chris Zay. So let's see if that might do something late on in this game. But to be fair, at this stage, we're just trying to take off Zay while he is having an absolute shocker. Let's see what Pinion can do there as an advanced playmaker in a bit of a central midfield position. Also, let's try and get this sorted out so it's a bit asymmetrical, but it kind of makes sense not to open in any part of the field. But a highlight off the back of that final sub that we do make. Fleetwood Town here trying to make their way out from the back bar, pumps that one way too deep, and Sweeney does get on the ball for us, but then a poor pass out from us there. Thankfully, we actually track back well and get the ball back. So it's Colville here who will find Pinion, who is inside the box from a tight angle, takes on the shot, but unfortunately, the goalkeeper comes up with a good save, and we are still 4-1 down. Definitely getting the chances here to try and get back into this game. Unfortunately, we're not taking them. There's another one, but again, the Fleetwood goalkeeper comes up with a big save. So unfortunately, just not happening for us here in this playoff semi-final. Another season in League 2 for Buxton. To be fair, it's only their first season in League 2, and they were expected to be the team that finished rock bottom. So to be fair, this isn't exactly a bad result. Let's just try here late on, go even more direct in passing and on more of a higher tempo, just see if that does anything. But really, we've been well and truly second best here over the course of both these leagues, especially in the second one away from home. So Fleetwood will make their way through to a playoff final. It looked like that might be against Crawley Town as we make our way here into only 3 minutes of added time. And that will do it for our time at Buxton in the save, at least for now. Maybe in the future we come back and try and get these guys all the way up to the Premier League if that hasn't happened with their tycoon owner, who definitely isn't a tycoon, as we found out late on in yesterday's episode. That big boost to our transfer budget of 40k to try and keep us here at Buxton when we got offered 2.4 million to spend at Jan Regensburg. They'll be coming up now in tomorrow's episode because we've been knocked out there in the semi-finals of the playoffs, 4-1 by Fleetwood Town. And we've gone for a few weeks in game, and it's time here for our final end of season review with this Buxton team. Quite weird considering that we're not the manager for these guys next season. Haven't actually been able to do anything in the meantime. They won't let me sign players or even extend player contracts. Let's hope that doesn't backfire for them once the new season does tick over. But in a few weeks' time, we will be off to Jan Regensburg. Before then, let's get stuck into this end of season review, which really will be our last act here with this Buxton team. Now, lots of signings that we did make going to this season. Obviously, I think most of them did help considering that we finished in 6th compared to our expectation of 24th. So the fact that we weren't relegated really was the big thing with this Buxton team. The way it ended, obviously, not too great, being knocked out there in the semi-finals of the playoffs. But in the end, our signing of the season here apparently was Career-Crossroads, who got a 6.8 average rating, 3 goals and 2 assists in 25 appearances. A bit surprised by that considering that there's some players up here a bit further who had a lot more goal contributions, like Ash Jr. as well as Eddie Manning. But somehow Career-Crossroads, he picks up there our signing of the season. To be fair, most of them weren't actually that great this season. No one on a green rating, but I suppose for our first season up in League One, it wasn't too bad, especially considering our finishing position, making our way through to those playoffs. The players that we sold, we got rid of quite a few, and to be fair, the ones that we did get rid of did a good job in some other places. Connor Kirby there at Fencibles, that's not too surprising. He's got that rating considering that's over in like the second tier of the central region of New Zealand. But overall, we got rid of some players here for some pretty good money. Obviously, the 2 to Wimbledon there were not players that we wanted to sell, but release clauses that did get triggered. But overall, we handled those losses quite well, making our way through to those playoffs. A couple of loans out, but obviously not here next season. Don't really need to worry about those too much. Let's go forward here. The season's results that we did get unfortunately knocked out there in the semi-finals of those playoffs. In the end, it's Crawley Town who do go up alongside Crew Alexandra, Peterborough United, and the clear champions Salford City with the 102 points. So unfortunately, we did get beaten there by a team that did lose the playoff final. You can see there a really good start. We picked up 3 wins in our first 3 games before that thrashing by Fleetwood Town, which obviously was a bit ominous for what was to come in the playoff semi-final. But overall, our form for most of the season was pretty good. Just a couple of patches where we did get into some average form there in late September. A couple of draws in a row against some teams that really we should have done better against, in Barrow as well as Stevenage. Going down a bit further, we have back-to-back losses in December against Hartlepool and Leyton Orient, which was not too great either. And of course, we'll go down further. That last month or so, March and April, that was not too good. Really should have picked up more points there in between the Mansfield and those Hartlepool games. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and that really was quite costly. That could have been the difference maker in us potentially getting automatically promoted over a team like Crew Alexandra. But in the end, there was a pretty good first season here for us in League 2 with this Buxton team. The FA Cup, the furthest that we've got in that competition, but still not that great. Only the second round before getting beaten 2-0 by Chesterfield, who unfortunately were our cup bogey team this season because they also knocked us out of the Pizza Cup there in the final round of the Northern section. Before then, did a really good job with our rotation in that competition, and the Carabao Cup got knocked out early 3-0 by the Crawley Town team, who will be up in League 1 next season. So to be fair, got some tough draws there when getting knocked out in the cup competitions. Really could have potentially done a bit better there in the Pizza Cup considering how we did in those first couple of games, but Chesterfield did become our bogey team, and ironically, those guys I'm pretty sure will be down in League 2 next season. Indeed, they got relegated, finishing in 22nd position. So actually, Buxton will have to deal with those guys a bit more next season without us being in charge. But going back here to the end of season review, here are the moments to remember. Our biggest win was 4-0 over Walsall back in September, Alice Lahane there with a double the match. Do you remember a 3-0 win away against Bromley, who at that stage had Des Buckingham in charge, and the goal of the season did come from Garner. It was a free kick in our 3-1 win over Grimsby Town in the Pizza Cup. A free kick here just on the stroke of half-time, which he puts away there with his left foot into that top right corner. So that does pick up the goal of the season. To be fair, he didn't score too many for us this year, did G. Gunner, but that one was decent, albeit in a competition that really no one cares about. It's not too sure if it deserves something like goal of the season, but finance-wise, obviously going up to League 2, this all goes up considering that we're in League 2 instead of the National League, so really not too much to talk about there. Hopefully the club reputation that might go up during the course of the off-season. The top shirt sellers, Kesper the Ghost, as well as Manning Colville Lahane and Ashton Muir, so a lot there of our new signings whose shirts did get picked up going forward to our best 11 for our final season here with this Buxton team. Kesper the Ghost in goal, Abdul Salam indeed there at right back over Pinion. Indeed, the lack of heading ability there from Pinion does prove costly. Leeson actually in there alongside Kula as well at centre back, and Jake Leake at left back, considering that Jaden Sweeney had quite a few injuries here this season. With this Buxton team, Zay Mohammed in there over Dewuna in defensive midfield, Manning and Williams, that makes sense. That's our first choice combo, and it's the rotation players in Colville and Jones who get the spots there on the wings alongside Alice Lahane up top with his 18 goals this season. But the only player with a green rating there is Sebastian Williams. You'd imagine that he would pick up quite a few awards here coming up in the end of season ones, but in fact, it's Eddie Manning with a 7.0 who picks up the Fans Player of the Season. Sebastian Williams gets the consolation of the Young Player of the Season. We saw some of those previous awards before. The top goal scorer, Alice Lahane, most assists, that did go to Luca Colville, most man of the matches, also Lahane there with 6. And in terms of us as a manager, we did pick up the Manager of the Month back in September, but it's certainly not the same amount of awards as we were picking up previously in the likes of the National League or the National League North. And one record breaker this season, that was Charlie Kesper, the most clean sheets in the season. With 17, he's still here for next season. Pretty much the best player here at Buxton in terms of their star rating, but like most goalkeepers in FM, he can be a bit dodgy at times, especially on that sweeper keeper role. An ultimately successful season for us here, which we started superbly, set us up for what was to follow, according there to Elliot McKnight from the Football League paper. We performed well from the very beginning, and our early season football was a joy to watch there, according to Neil from Premier Sports. So in other words, we started off well, and really that was the reason that we weren't in a relegation battle this season. And going back here to this time last season, we did change assistant manager a few times this year because we had to hire a new one and he got poached at some stage. I think that was from Bristol City or Burton up in League 1 on the Championship. So a couple of changes of our assistant manager this season. We signed Luke Colville and signed a few other players this season. Not too much there in terms of what changed there with our manager timeline. A couple of big wins that we did pick up, including in the Pizza Cup there over Fleetwood Town. If only we backed it up there in the actual playoffs. And going forward, we did sign a youngster in Ibrahim Fatai from our youth intake, but really not too much being added there to our manager timeline. No doubt that will change next season once we make the move to Jan Regensburg, which will happen on the 31st of May in game, or it might actually be the 30th. Let's just check how many days here there are in May. It might be the 31st, but maybe the 30th, seeing as that is a Sunday, to make sure that we take over there going into the month of June. But I think that will do it here for today's episode. We miss out there in the playoff semi-finals of League 2. And also, if you're wondering, there's the best 11 for Buxton so far in the save. It looks pretty accurate, but that's it here for our time at Buxton. It's been a pleasure, but it's time for us now to make the move to a better reputation league in the 2 Bundesliga and over to Jan Regensburg in tomorrow's episodes. That will do it for today and our time here at Buxton. If you've enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification button on as well. We'll come back tomorrow, introduce you guys to our new club, and also run through the transfers. Maybe we'll sneak in a game, but it depends how long it takes us to run through the transfers, and of course our tactics that we'll use over there in the 2 Bundesliga. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.